I know what you're thinking. It's about time, right? What's up, geeks and geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me on this episode is my partner in crime, Matty B.
Listen, it's it's such a good year. Football is over. I'm a big football guy, but it is nerd season now, and we are entering some really interesting, especially a certain trailer that was out today. So I'm excited to be here, boys.
Absolutely. Joining us once again, Retro Ray.
What's going on, guys? Let's talk some Batman.
Absolutely. We're all
Or
decked
Flash.
out. Betsy here. And joining us from the Star Wars podcast, you might not recognize him because he's wearing a Batman v Superman hat. It's David. What's going on, Dave?
What's up, guys? This is David. David, aka Star Wars Stuff Podcast.
Why are you here, Dave?
Why am I here?
Yeah.
I'm here to talk about stuff.
What kind of
stuff in general. Super Bowl stuff, Star Wars stuff, DCU stuff, James Gunn stuff, Snyderverse stuff, The Last of Us stuff. A nice little event that happened in San Antonio.
Yeah, you get to like stretch out on this episode, right? Break out of that box a little bit. Stretch your arms, stretch your legs. It's awesome. Wonderful feeling. If you're in the chat, we want to hear from you guys. What did you think about the big game yesterday? We also want to hear what was your favorite trailer from Super Bowl Sunday. We might guess. We're going to talk about it here in a few minutes. We're also going to be talking about The Last of Us Episode 5, which dropped on Friday instead of yesterday because there was a game going on. I'm sure you're aware. But first, I had a little bit of an event of my own this past weekend. Some cast members of The Walking Dead, both from all the way in season 1, all the way through the final season, cast members across that entire series arrived and took over the city of San Antonio for what was a tremendous event here in the heart of the city. So I was lucky enough to speak with 5 of the featured guests, all from The Walking Dead. If you want to see those interviews, the easiest way to do that is after this show is over, you head on over to our YouTube page. I'm going to pull it up here in just a second, but you could find all of those interviews at Countdown City Geeks on YouTube, and just go through the list of videos. So I'm going to share this real quick. Ross Marquand, you guys know him from the panel I was a part of last summer. He was back in town. We had a great conversation. We were able to talk about spoilers this time around, so that was fantastic. Adrian Kali Turner, who was Morgan's son in season 1, Travis T. Love, Addie Miller, Seth Gilliam, who you all know as Father Gabriel. We all had some great conversations. So head on over to the Countdown City Geeks YouTube page and click on the videos tab, and all the recent ones just right there for you for your viewing pleasure. There's also a very wild sort of panel that took place Saturday night. That one I have to edit out a little bit, but I plan on getting that online this week. I highly recommend it. It's must-see TV. You will be surprised on the shenanigans that went on during that panel. But it was fantastic. San Antonio, you guys stepped up. You turned out. The cast had a great time. It was a blast for them. It was a blast for us. And shout out to the entire Kings of Horror team, including Angel, who put that on. Fantastic group, and probably to date their biggest event. I mean, thousands over the weekend showed up to this thing, and it was just tremendous. Any questions for you guys about it? Or
actually what I was going to ask you, Ted. Yeah, I was about that because I know we went to, obviously a cult classic, the Lost Boys Con. We went to at the same thing, and I was actually decently surprised on how busy that was. But I knew that the Walking Dead Con, especially over this Valentine's Day weekend, was going to bring in folks. So as compared to that Lost Boys convention, I mean, how much more busy was it?
I think it just beat it out. Honestly, it probably wasn't a whole lot bigger because that Lost Boys one was huge, right? But I feel like
It was
they
huge.
beat it out. The reason why I could probably tell you it did is because like Ross Marquand, his line started at 11 on Saturday and didn't end till 7 p.m. that night, nonstop. No breaks, no lunches, no bathroom breaks for that guy. He just one after another for 8 hours signed, and his line never stopped. It was just bonkers,
I love those actors and people
right?
that are in the space that really kind of understand that the fans are there to see them, interact with them, and that's just awesome, man. I went to Trader's Village, and I saw Ray Park, and he spoke with everyone's parents, everyone's kids, took pictures. It was an awesome experience for me. I had never met him before, and he signed a few of my things, and it was cool to talk with him. My legs were killing me though. I think I stood up for like 8 hours in line because he spoke. He had a moment with every single person there, and it was awesome to see him give up a lot of his time and spend his time with us, the fans, and it was pretty memorable.
There are
I
those guests who are like that top tier. Maddie will agree with me. Ernie Hudson's in that top tier. Like Ernie
mhm.
gives you 100% his undivided attention, a great experience every time you meet him. Jason David Frank is up there, one of the all time greats, top tier featured guests at a con, just super enthusiastic, energetic. Rest in peace, JDF. And Ross and JDF, they ran into each other a lot because they went to all these same conventions, man. So Ross actually, we talked briefly about our time meeting Jason. I met Jason twice before, but yeah, fantastic group, great event. And if you want to go to more events, there are dozens this year just like that. And we're going to be promoting those. So follow us if you aren't already following us on social media, on Insta, on Facebook, and find out when those things are happening.
I was hoping to. I was hoping like the Mardi Gras parade was this weekend for the Yellow Rose Ghostbusters. So but I actually had it in plans before that came up to come down there for that event because I wanted to dress up as Robert Rodriguez and talk to Ross Marquand because he was such a nice guy when we met him the last time. He looks at me and goes, "You know what? You look like Robert Rodriguez." So I wanted to like come back with like a black painter's cap, the black button up shirt, and see if he was such a cool dude at Superhero Car Show and Comic Con, and honestly, a pretty big guest for an event at like that. So and everybody just has great stories about him. So he's definitely become one of the Geekcast favorites. But you left off that list, someone who's also a really good guest, and that's Giancarlo Esposito.
You're
He's
a
awesome with
hundred.
his fans.
You're 100% right. Giancarlo is also at the top of that list. I also left off from this weekend David Morrissey. I didn't get a chance to interview David just because our schedules didn't line up. But he's a massive dude. He's at least like 6'7" or something. He's still sort of intimidating. He still has this massive, deep voice. Like it's the governor's still there. You know what I mean? And the one of the best parts about their panel, which I'm going to release later on this week, is that he still kind of holds a grudge to Rick, and he let everybody know like I wish that guy was dead. I wish I would have killed Rick. I wish I would have took over. I wish this and that would have happened. Like it was nonstop throughout that panel. So
Yeah,
appreciate
he did a
everybody
great
that.
job.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh me?
Yeah, your interviews. I saw the ones with Ross Marquand, Seth Gilliam, Addie Miller, and Travis Love. Yeah, they were awesome, but they're always awesome. I mean, that's how I kind of discovered you. The Giancarlo interview was really awesome, and it went viral, as we all know, and it just blew up. And I was like, wow, this guy's pretty good.
Dude,
I
But
appreciate you.
Ted is so funny because he is such a consummate professional in those interviews, and he's unflappable even before the interview. I mean, he gets a little nervous, he gets worked up, but he never shows anything on the outside. I'm sitting at the same event, and I am a ball of anxiety with everything. Like, it's hard for me to even order in the fast food drive-through. When they ask me a question, I'm like, oh. But Ted really holds it down, and that's awesome. Look at that love, the San Antonio podcast love coming through.
Woo! Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, it's weird, like especially that convention get off too much on a tangent, but it was like putting blinders on, man. I didn't have time to focus on anything. Just had to focus on, the job that we were supposed to do. So,
yeah. Well, here's the thing, Ted. So we saw
uh-oh.
each other before one of those days, and I knew you from somewhere. I just couldn't place you. And I think you kind of saw me looking at you, and I was like, I think I know that guy. I think he does like podcast stuff. And then we talked to each other, and you
Yep.
didn't even tell me you were going to be on stage with Giancarlo. I would have probably shown up a little earlier that day. And then I turn around and you're like on stage, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was the guy I just met.
Another funny moment because I remember we had met at the Spencer Wilding panel that the other panelist was doing, and I had the all-time blunder. I wanted to crawl in a hole and die. So Spencer Wilding is up there, and I get up there and ask him about the hallway scene, and
it wasn't him.
It wasn't even him. And I had just talked to David about I'm a big Star Wars guy too. I like Star Wars and all this stuff. And then I get up there and ask a question like that. I could have just went home and not even came back any other day.
To be fair, I didn't know it wasn't him either. Like he was a big muscular dude. Why wouldn't he do his own stunts? Right?
Yeah, that was kind of odd to me as well. I'm not even quite sure I even knew that at that point. I think I learned that because I think I read as much as I possibly could because I did an interview with him for my podcast, and I learned that it was a totally different person that doesn't really do the con circuit that did the hallway scene at the end of Rogue One, and I was like, well, that's a little strange, but yeah, that's what happened. But Spencer's pretty prolific in Hollywood films. He's done Clash of the Titans and a myriad of other things, and he kept on hinting to another project he was about to do, either for Marvel or the DC EU at that point.
Dun dun
Yeah,
dun.
for sure.
Speaking of DC, thanks for teeing this up, Dave. We're actually going to watch the Flash movie trailer, I think is what it was, that happened yesterday. I don't know if anybody saw it, but we're going to watch that trailer back again. And if you are watching us right now, get cozy. Well, we're going to play it in just a second here. But before we get to that, I want to make sure that we talk to you guys about another event that's coming up. More Phenomenal. I've got to make sure I say that right. More Phenomenal is a massive Power Rangers event that is going down in the San Antonio area, March 11th, March 12th, and they are not lacking in guests that they've announced. So let me try and find the overall picture here. One second. Let's pull this up, shall we? This is so far the individuals they've announced for More Phenomenal, starting off with Christina Masterson from Megaforce. We also got Jenna Frank of Jason David Frank. She's going to be there. I heard one day, and I think she extended it to 2. So be looking out for her. Hunter Dino from Cosmic Fury, as well as Dino Fury is going to be there. Caleb Noir from Ninja Steel and Super Ninja Steel. Blake Foster Blaster. Yes, you don't recognize him. He's from Power Rangers Turbo, the movie. The guy that when he morphed would actually grow like 2 feet. Yeah, that was him. Dwayne Cameron from Operation Overdrive. And we'll just leave it for now. There's more guests that they're going to be announcing very soon, but March 11th and March 12th at the Wonderland of America's Mall in San Antonio, Texas, just where we had this Walking Dead event. If you want more information, go to More Phenomenal, MorPhinoMinal on Facebook or Instagram to get more information about that. Or you can also visit morephenomenaltx.com. And our team's going to be there. Like, everybody wants to be a part of this. It's going to be a huge event. There's so many guests to speak with and meet. And so if you're a big Power Rangers fan, even if you're a little Power Rangers fan, you're going to want to be at this event. There's also going to be vendors. There's going to be merch you can buy, tons of things. So be prepared. Second week of March, March 11th and 12th in San Antonio.
And
Awesome.
I love these like niche cons where it is specific, and there are certain franchises that are big enough to do that. Like a Star Wars franchise can obviously host its own con. It's one of the biggest franchises in the world. But when you have some of these like smaller nerd bases, like Power Rangers specific, it's really cool because when you show up there and you're a fan of the Power Rangers, even small or big or whatever, everyone there is like-minded and on the same page for something. I'm jealous as Ghostbusters is obviously a big thing for me. I wish we had more cons. In fact, that's something I kind of want to get started with Ted to maybe try to do a little circuit there of some things like that. But that sounds awesome. And I'm pissed that I'm all the way over here in Houston. It's going to be tough for me to get over there, but I might have to make the trip for the More Phenomenal.
Bus trip. Ray, you're going to be
Yeah.
at More Phenomenal as well, right, Ray?
Yeah, I'm gonna be up there. Hopefully, hang out with Blake Foster for a little bit.
It's going to be a massive event. If you're a Ranger fan, do not miss it. And I know that we'll have guys from the team there as well. Okay. So, Super Bowl happened today, whether you're won or lost or wasn't even there like mine. We can all
Who's your
admit
team?
that we Cowboys. We can all admit
Okay, my team's Cowboys too. Cool.
we can all admit that we also watched Super Bowl for the halftime show, but also the trailers that come out. And there was no lack of trailers yesterday. And the one that kind of stole the show was the first full trailer for the Flash movie. So if you're ready, we're ready. Grab a seat, get comfortable. Here we go. We're going to all watch it together. Here is the Flash trailer. It's in all its glory. Let me take this name off here. 1 second. All right. So,
Tell me something. You can go anywhere. In mine. Another universe. So why do you want to stay to save this one?
Because this is the world where my mom lives. I'm not gonna lose her again. Time has a pattern that it can't help reliving. Different people, different worlds, drawn to each other like magnets. My face.
If you were to go into the past, you have no idea what the consequences can be.
Bruce, I could fix things.
You could also destroy everything.
This can't be happening. I completely broke the universe. Sorry.
We've been waiting for you.
I created a world with no metahumans. And now there's no one to defend us.
Want some help?
You are.
Yeah.
I did. If I can't get back, there might not be a future. What's the play? Batman, what do we do?
We try not to die.
It's not Clark.
My name is Kara.
I'm Barry. We're Barry. Barry, what are you doing? Our kids are gonna want to see this.
Yeah.
So good, man.
Oh my God. It's
because I was on the camp. I got to come out clean, Ted. I said for months that this movie was not going to come out. But to back myself up a little bit, I did say that if this movie comes out, it has to be the best movie ever. And that was before James Gunn came out and said that it was one of the best movies ever. So having watched this trailer, I can 100% confirm when that Burton sort of Batman theme starts playing a little bit in the back. Obviously, though, the star of this is the Michael Keaton Batman, but Ben Affleck looked awesome in this too, which is going to rile up that Snyder base again. Though it's going to be hashtag Batfleck everywhere.
Ben looks amazing. He even said himself that this was perhaps his favorite part of playing Batman because he finally got his rage over. He finally let go of all of his hurt feelings, and now he's just able to play, the straightforward sort of Batman, which is pretty dope. And he's not fighting aliens. Well, he kind of is actually, so never mind. But he's got his own bat pod or bat cycle, whatever he's gonna call it, and his suit is even more comic accurate than it was before. And before, it was the most comic accurate to date. So we're just getting better and better, and hopefully, if this is his last hurrah, he'll be going out on a high point. Anyone else have thoughts on the trailer? Dave, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to unpack here. When I first saw the trailer, it looks different from everything else that we've gotten in the DCEU. It felt faster and more intense than other Snyder projects. And of course, we all know that this film was shot during the time that the DCEU existed, and James Gunn and Safran weren't a part of the WB and managing it. But this is one of the films that James Gunn has saved. And he said it himself that this is one of the greatest comic book movies that he's ever seen. And for James Gunn to say that, I mean, it's got to be spectacular. This trailer was spectacular. And we all kind of got the promise with all the teaser trailers that we're going to get Michael Keaton as the Batman 89 hero that we've all grown up with and have loved and watched those movies so many times over and over again. I didn't think in 1,000 years we would get Michael Keaton back in that suit in a film. And it's just crazy. It feels like it's not real. And somehow they found the way to interweave that Batman in a modern day film for 2023. And it's just kind of shocking to me. Almost as shocking as seeing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield on screen with the new Spider-Man and Tom Holland. That was shocking. And after that, I think it felt like they could probably put any actor from any part of nostalgia from our childhood into something modern. It felt like they kind of broke the seal on that. But it's Flashpoint essentially. I hear people mistakenly call it Flashpoint, the movie. It feels like it's gonna be almost like a goodbye in a way, because we all know Henry Cavill is not going to come back, and we do see parts of the Man of Steel, what you see on the screen right now, And of course, we have Michael Shannon as General Zod coming back, which was a great villain, great casting for Zod. And the new Supergirl, she looks fantastic. She has a tone, she has a vibe to her, and just the whole setup. Flash finally gets his own movie in modern day, and I'm super excited to see it. And of course, we have the whole Ezra Miller saga that's happening off screen, which is super unfortunate. But like Matty B said, he didn't think this movie was going to come out because there's so many different things happening behind the scenes. And I think Ezra Miller has been given like second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances to correct his mistakes and clean his act up. And that's a weird thing kind of hanging over the movie. But I think it's just us in our kind of geek bubble that kind of know really what's going on. I don't think the general public really has
Yeah,
an
normies
inkling.
don't have that feeling. I
Yeah.
don't think normies don't go. They don't get it. But I agree with you totally. It looks awesome. Ray has the Keaton Batman shirt on.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
This is
Keaton's my guy.
Yeah.
So it is taking from what I took from the trailer. It is kind of Flashpoint, but they're tweaking it around. It looks like they're taking from Project Superman from the series from Flashpoint, but they tweaked it and turned it around, and it's focused on Kara, where she's. If you guys haven't read the comic, no spoilers, guys. It's spoilers alert, so pause if you want.
I think it's
Basically,
fine.
yeah. Basically, in the comic, Superman gets held down away from the sun, so he's not Superman when he crash lands here on Earth. So until he gets broken out, kind of what you see in the trailer. I really wanted to see the opposite Batman, the Bruce Wayne being Batman and Bruce getting killed. I would have loved to see this in this movie. If you guys have not read Flashpoint, I definitely recommend reading it. The book itself, when it came out, people kind of didn't like it. It was kind of rocky, but it is a good read that's broken up into series. So you see different timelines of stories. So, I mean, if you want to read something good, it's going to be kind of hard. You're going to probably pick it up in trade paperback, but I wouldn't surprise me that the individual comics are going to soar right now because of this. So it's
Oh,
going to be
for sure.
interesting.
And I always felt that, when they kind of teased that the first film might be Flashpoint, I'm like, Flashpoint's too big of a story.
Yeah.
You have the Atlanteans going to war with the Amazonians, or the Amazon, sorry. And like it just seemed like it was too big of a movie to put on a screen. Now we see a different version of Flashpoint, which there always is, right? Anytime Barry screws up the timeline, which is a running gag in the DC universe, it's a Flashpoint. But this looks like it still has this large scale, which is incredible. And unfortunately, the rumors about Zod and the rumors about Feora have been out there for about a year now, and I was always hopeful that we would see Michael Shannon again. Even Feora, which I hope she does reprise her role, like she will. And it's exciting, man. It's really cool. That Man of Steel final act. We saw it at the beginning of BVS, and it was so impactful when they brought it back. The
Different point of view.
entire introduction, Bruce running into Metropolis, it fueling the rage and the vengeance that Bruce felt to take out Superman, which I know was a little drastic of a measure, but he felt that it was necessary, which you can't blame the guy, right? So I think it's great that somebody decided we're going to go back and we're going to do it this way. And unfortunately, it doesn't involve Henry Cavill in any way because this was written and filmed during the time where the prior regime over at Warner Brothers wasn't really a fan of Henry at all, and they could never figure something out. So this is that weird dark ages of when the old regime really wasn't doing anything that would make sense. Even Ben, I think Ben had a much smaller role. in this movie before when it was first written, and I think they've given him more to do. And clearly, all those people that said Ben's done, he doesn't want to do it, yada yada, blah blah, you can go eat crow. Ben's back. He looks fantastic, and I can't wait to see him. He's probably gonna be my favorite part. As much as I like Keaton, and I love Keaton, he's my first Batman. That was my first Halloween costume. He should not be a long-term Batman, if you know what I mean. In the same way that Tobey Maguire should not be a long-term choice for Spider-Man. Um, we're potentially rumored to get a different Batman that we've not seen just yet, who may or may not be the Batman going forward. I'm holding my breath. I don't know if those rumors are true, but if we do get that, it'll be interesting to see who else may or may not pop up in this movie.
Yeah,
But every
I've heard those rumors too, but I think James Gunn kind of confirmed it on Twitter. It'll be a new Batman. So
Yeah, there was a bunch of
what it is.
Clooney. There's a bunch of no, it better not be Clooney. I saw a bunch of that. But if there's anything this trailer taught us is that we don't know anything, and it's important for us as nerds, especially again we talked about the normies earlier, might not know things about Ezra Miller and things like this, but we're so tied into the universe that any little bit of news we think is something, and it's a humbling moment for us to come back and step back and say, actually, I don't know anything. I think it's really important for us moving forward. For example, how silly do we look for speculating rumors about Dwayne Johnson and Black Adam being like moving the DCU forward? I mean, after seeing this trailer, all of that looks completely silly because Black Adam is gone, Henry Cavill is gone, and we actually are getting Keaton. We actually are getting more Ben Affleck as Batman. We actually are seeing some of these things. So, if anything, it just reconfirms that we don't know anything, and sometimes it's best to just wait. And I think this movie is going to be awesome. I cannot wait
Yeah.
for it.
Well,
So-
the thing is, too, is that right now it's going to be hard to tell what's actually going to be in it because I don't know if you guys follow Funko Pop, where they leaked out the photos of the pops tied to the movie that are coming out. General Zod,
Yeah, don't say it.
General Zod, Wonder Woman, all those characters, and then of course Keaton in the Bat movie, the Batwing. But if you have Wonder Woman, I'm wondering, are they going to cut her scene completely out of this movie? You know what I mean?
As far as I know, Gal Gadot is done. I don't think she has anything else in it.
I think she's
Yes.
a producer on the Themyscira show that's going to be on HBO Max.
That scene you just had up there a minute ago, Ted, of Affleck on the Bat Cycle. This is how crazy the internet is sometimes. There was people literally saying that that's Christian Bale.
Yeah.
It's like they
looks
said
very-
Invincible Iron Man was in the movie of the Doctor
Oh
Strange.
yeah,
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness.
Turned
Yeah.
out to be
This bike is definitely it's similar, right? But it's definitely different. If you're especially the Bat Pod and the Dark Knight. And did we see it in Rises? Yeah, we did see it in Rises. It only had that one gigantic wide wheel in the front and the back. And this one, they clearly want to differentiate because it has the two in the front and it probably has two in the back as well. But I can't wait to see what Ben does in this movie. General Kenobi in the chat say, so does the Zod Kryptonian invasion take the place of the Atlantean Amazonian War in the Flashpoint storyline? I think so.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Either they didn't want to do that as having Jason having a version of Momoa fighting Gal, even though they were going to be variant or more characters, I guess would have been too confusing. That's just my thought, right? It's too big of an idea in a movie for people to comprehend already. Why are Wonder Woman and Aquaman fighting? Well, because what had happened? Aquaman hooked up with Wonder Woman, and then she killed Aquaman's queen, who was Mera, and then they all went to war after that. So I think that would have been too dark, maybe, of a story to go down. But
What do you guys think the odds of seeing Keaton and Affleck in the same scene is?
That would be insane.
So is it just going to be
Hi.
Barry? Is it just going to be Barry running back and forth between Ben Affleck's Gotham and Michael Keaton's Gotham and getting knowledge from both of them to help them in their situations, or is it a because I mean, how would they? Barry would have to bring them over to the other universe or whatever it might be. So I don't know. I mean, if are we going to get two Batmans in the same scene? I mean, that would be
I
pretty
think so.
monumental.
I think we're actually going to get 3
Uh-oh.
in a way, because there is a frame in here, if Ted can find it, where you see a bluish gray Batman kind of doing like the surfboard on the highway, and apparently what the internet thinks is that's actually one of the berries in the suit, in a Flash modified bat suit. Apparently, I think it's that scene.
That's interesting because we do have the large scene where we see all the bat suits, and
He's
one
right.
of those bat suits is blue and gray.
He's actually wearing the suit right now. So, spoiler alert, this Barry, which isn't the Barry Prime or Barry 1, he's actually wearing a bat suit now. You can
Okay.
kind of see the emblem, the chest emblem
Right.
right
Okay.
there.
Okay.
What they do is they actually paint over the entire thing. And the director, Andy Muschietti, that's one of the first things he actually teased was the bat logo, like spray painted over.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So this Barry, for whatever reason, doesn't have powers, I think. And there's also a scene that we
Right.
see where there's like lightning going through Barry 1, and maybe he's passing Speed Force powers into Barry 2. I don't know what this movie's
Right.
going to be, but it's going to be wild. If you ask me, I actually don't think that we'll see two Batmen in one frame. I think, kind of how Matt kind of stated, Affleck is going to be a part of the universe that's either collapsing or dying or getting erased or rewritten, and I don't kind of foresee that he'll come out into this one with Keaton. I could be wrong, and I would be very happy to be wrong about this, but I feel like they're not going to give us that moment. It's too big of a moment. I don't think they're going to give it to us. That's just me.
All I know is I gotta break out my collector edition Batman popcorn bucket because we're gonna be ready to go come movie time. And if I had any hate about this movie before, I'm gonna flip flop. I'm gonna say that I'm most excited for this than anything coming out this year. I'm what this cow with the blood is that a Keaton cow?
I believe it's an Affleck cow.
That's the Affleck cow.
Yeah.
Uh,
Maybe look at the
I don't know.
ears.
It kind of looks like a Keaton cow to me, just
You think
because of
so?
the neck, just the neck part.
okay, so
I don't know.
Affleck never had the extended sort of web-like bottom like Keaton
Mhm.
always had.
Okay. Yeah.
Affleck's cowl went down to like a neck piece, but this is also a different suit we've not seen before. So maybe it
Or
does.
that could be under his suit as well. So he may just wear his the rest of it up over some of that too. You know what I mean? Um, but man, it looks fantastic. I can see why James Gunn's like, hey, I can see why they were trying so hard to keep Ezra involved because with everything they scrapped, they could have just been like, hey kid, you're too much trouble. But this movie was just so good
Yeah.
that they're like, and because you have him being able to jump between universes, it really is Gunn's only tool to continue with some of the story and maybe some of the characters in the new DCU without actually having to just completely keep going with the Snyderverse. The Flash is probably one of his only characters that he could do that with because he can go between universes. So
And the fortuitous beauty, I think, of the story is the fact that they can reset all their characters with this new transition to James Gunn and Safran. They can just kind of move some of these actors they no longer want to do business with over, Ezra's perfect example. I mean, recasting the Flash isn't going to be that hard. I mean, they could just set up another story where it's he just becomes a different actor. You know, it's it's a very fortuitous situation, I think. Even though James Gunn, I think, says that Aquaman will lead into Superman Legacy somehow, and that's a little confusing. But doing a Flashpoint story really helps out the future DCU, I think.
Yeah.
Dude, how good does Michael Shannon look?
Yeah, he looks really good.
Just bring him back, Lord. Just General Zod. I mean, come on. I wasn't expecting that in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And maybe I just wasn't keeping up with it. Maybe Ezra Miller kind of all his headlines and everything kind of detracted from some of the clues that I could have had there. But that's just amazing. But it does feel kind of weird without Henry. So you bring back Michael Shannon as General Zod, but we don't get to see Henry kind of face off with him one last time. Like that kind of sucks. It'd be nice to see if Henry's going to go. Maybe let him just face off with Zod one more time if you're going to bring him back.
Well, Maddie, there's a theory that I heard today. Just a theory. I mean, this is just grain of salt type stuff. So, what if we did get a male Superman show up? And what if it fits in the continuity of Batman 89? So apparently Batman 89 is the same universe as the Christopher Reeve Superman. Can you imagine if you get a Christopher Reeve Superman somehow involved and they're not showing us that yet?
Well, I mean, it would have to be deep fake like crazy.
Yeah, well, they've done it before.
Or I guess you could do Brandon Routh. I mean, there's other like Superman characters
That's a possibility
that you could
too.
bring in.
But
we would know.
Brandon is Reeve's character, like extended.
Continued,
I don't know if anybody feels bad about that, but it was always Superman Returns was supposed to be Christopher Reeve's Clark Kent, Kal-El, his story progressing, much like they recast Keaton with Kilmer and Clooney.
Right.
That's why I think the Clooney thing doesn't make any sense, because he's just a Keaton. That's all he is just face swapped Keaton. So it'd be nice to give Brandon a shot at it. I think it's been long enough, and he has a lot of high praise from the fans. I think they'd respect that decision. That'd be pretty cool, in my opinion.
I think what they're going to do is probably we're going to get, because if you think about it, Keaton, from what it looks like, is Keaton has been out of the suit for a long while. Because when you see Flash going into the Batcave, he's removing the cover from the Batmobile. It's dusty. You know what I mean? He's powering the lights on, and it's like they hadn't been on for a good while. So it looks like the possibility we'll see that Superman was part of that world in some type of either news or newspaper flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From that timeline. Yeah. That's what I think. That's my opinion. I may be wrong, but that's what I'm taking from that Batman scene.
Yeah. And we don't see a lot of upgrade in the technology. Like, for example, like if Keaton's this old, like he's still flying the same Batwing from, the 80s. It's like literally the exact same.
Yeah.
The exact same one. The suit's kind of similar. We didn't see a lot of advancement in the Keaton verse technology. So it would make a lot of sense if that was the case. I'm just not a big fan of, and Hollywood doesn't care what I think. This is just my opinion. I don't like bringing back actors like that. I think it's weird if you can't sign off on your own work. If like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think that the best idea is to recast. And if they did do, like you were saying, David, I would hope that they would recast and not deep fake.
All right, so
well, if they do it well, I mean, I think that would be big time for the old heads. That'd be another draw. Because, I mean, they gave Keaton away in the trailers, so there's probably going to be another surprise. What better surprise than have Christopher Reeve show up? That'd be something.
And I wouldn't put it past them to make changes. I mean, there's rumors out there that they are still making changes. I follow one of the special effects producers or special effects supervisors on Insta, and she's kind of still putting out little hints that they're working on something.
Mm.
So, and it is Flash. I'll say that out loud, but they could still be making changes to certain things, and credit scenes are probably changing at this point. The Batwing, slightly different. The old one looked very much like his logo. This one is less symmetrical. It looks like the front wings are a little further out, and the back end is almost linear with just some, cutouts. It is slightly different. I think I've also seen a toy of it out
Yeah.
in like one of those leaks.
Mhm.
Very slightly different. The thing that also got released, and I can't remember if it was in the trailer or not, but let me go ahead and show this picture.
The original was a one-seater as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because we
Yeah,
never
'cause it got
saw
destroyed.
Basinger in that one.
And the goggles come out.
I'm gonna maximize this. Let's just take a real good look at this.
There's the technology.
This is intriguing, very intriguing. There's a couple of things to point out. Number one, the logo that like Ray has on his chest is similar to the one in the front, but that logo didn't show up until Batman Returns. The logo that you saw in the Batman '89 is actually closer to the second one from the left. There's a little bit more. I think it's slightly like that one. A little bit more curves to it. Some smaller points. The one on the very left, I had to brighten this up a little bit.
Mhm.
Those look like gun holsters and gun handles.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, yeah.
And the only Batman I know to actually use guns frequently, which there have been some that use guns, but the only one that I knew to use them frequently was Thomas Wayne. And so that's odd. I don't know how I feel about that. There is a follower, a longtime follower of the show, who claims that he always suspected that Thomas Wayne would still show up in this Flashpoint, which Thomas showed up in the original Flashpoint storyline, and Martha Wayne actually became the Joker after she went
Yeah.
like kind of crazy. But Richard Redding, I'm giving you a shout out, brother. If you are right, you called this years ago, and nobody can take that away from you. Is it true? Is Keaton not even playing Bruce? That would be the biggest like rope dope I've ever seen in any movie.
Hmm.
Yeah, and is the second one from the left? Because this is one that I think that's the one that people are pointing out and saying it has a different sort of color scheme than the rest of the suit. Is that the one people are saying is it might be the gray and a blue?
Possible.
Because I saw a bunch of reports of that there's going to be a gray and blue Batman suit in this
Well,
one.
the Batflex suit on the highway, that's like a gray and bluish tone.
Mhm.
Yeah,
If Ted could
it
find
looks
that.
it looks
Yeah.
very blue. Yeah, I'll pull it out right now.
All of these suits are really cool though, and I especially like the one with the goggles over there and the hooded cape.
That one
Yeah.
right there. Blue and gray.
Yeah.
And this is definitely Affleck because this is his cowl
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
because of the smaller ears. What these additional metal pieces are include, but I'm sure they have some sort of
And the
use. And
yellow
look, he's
gold
got a gun.
belt. The yellow gold belt looked really good on that suit as well. That's just a good looking bat suit right there.
Fantastic.
There was also a frame with a character, it looks like in the Batcave with long gray hair. Do we know who that is?
Long gray
So
hair, no.
yeah. So there's a scene. So it's the same hand that's touching the picture. It's wearing a gray sweater, and then you get kind of a zoom out of a figure standing in the same gray sweater with long gray hair. So part of the speculation that I've seen is that Bruce has been out of this for a long time, and he's sort of a recluse. And it sort of takes this event and him communicating with Barry to sort of don the cowl again, if you will. And and get it back together. So he's just sort of an old, disheveled billionaire, carrying all the grunts of the secrets that he holds, and then he has to sort of come back and don the cowl. That's, but I know exactly what you're talking about. But it's
It's Vicky Vale.
but it's the because there's a picture that the hand is touching, and it looks like it's Bruce's parents and Bruce as a kid.
Yeah, it's
But
gonna be
again,
interesting on what they do.
David started it off exactly right. There's a lot to unpack here. And the more that people look at this over the next week or so, and some more things that come out, it's going to be very interesting to see. It looks like, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like the bat logo is a little bit different on each one of those suits.
Yeah, in their own way, they all kind of are. The one on the left, that's such an old style bat logo. I can't even remember
That's like
where
Adam
that's
West bat
from.
logo.
Yeah.
It's close. Adams was like an umbrella, and this one is just like the wings are just so like straight across. It's crazy. You know what's really interesting is that this one on the very right is so reminiscent of Batfleck's nightmare suit
Oh,
from
for sure.
after Darkseid took over.
Yeah.
So is it like Keaton had his own nightmare suit? That some people are thinking.
And what is these the metal things coming off the back of the one on the second to the right? I mean,
No idea.
so they're all pretty crazy. And Keaton's Batman did. You remember he had that room that had all the old statues and all the old samurai statues and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So that suit reminds me a lot of some of those statues that were in there. I
Yeah.
was actually surprised it wasn't like a samurai cowl, but it looks like those are some, like maybe some metal swords, or maybe that's an extension for wings. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, I'd
it
go for
looks
wing
awesome.
extensions. Maybe it's like a high altitude suit or something.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you see that tube that's coming off to the left of it.
Yeah.
It looks like an oxygen tube or a mask.
Yeah. Water or high altitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Something like
just so
that.
cool.
You could look at this for days. I want a poster of this after they make one.
No, seriously, I would if I could get a high res version of that, I would buy it right now if someone sent a link. So
Dude, I
somebody
wouldn't
hop
put
on
it past
let me know.
Hot Toys to start
Oh my
making
God,
these.
yeah.
One
Yeah.
of these would have all the suits. I can picture Hot Toys doing this.
Yeah, and all of the
sure.
all of the weapons in the back is very reminiscent of the Schumacher verse. Like when like at the beginning of each movie, when he's pulling off each tools that he needs for the job, like all of those tools in the back kind of look like that as well. So it's interesting.
Yep.
All right, I know my camera.
Ted's just gone. We've lost our host. Shows are.
Can you guys hear me at all?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah, I
you.
can hear you.
All right, I have no idea what's going on with the camera right now. I'll try and get it fixed. I haven't been keeping up with the chat. I apologize. Let's see here. Legacy Nerd says, I wonder if it's like the Justice League cartoon when they transform into the other version as time in the multiverse changes. Ooh, that's an interesting thought. That'd be pretty dope. Keaton is going to tie Flash into the Batmobile to go into the other universe. That would be gnarly, insane.
Big Flash like the hood ornament of the Batmobile.
Where he just like cuts open the floor and Flash is just like pedaling with his feet on the ground like Flintstone
Red
style.
Flintstone style. Yeah.
Or
Know what we're
all he'd
talking
really have to do is push it from the back.
Let me reboot my camera real quick. Just a second.
But everything about this movie now has become a hotly debated topic, and so I just know that all of my predictions are going to be wrong about people not wanting to go see it because Ezra Miller and because they canceled the Snyderverse and all this stuff. Now, what do you think our projections are box office wise for this?
Easily $1 billion.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
with the bat logo, because I brought this up a couple weeks ago and I said, because James Gunn released a slate and I said I don't see anything on this slate that's going to make $1 billion. I see some stuff that's going to be interesting, but I don't know if anything hits $1 billion. And I'm kind of on there with you now, David. I think this film can make $1 billion, and if this one does well, then Superman will definitely make $1 billion.
I hope it does. I really do. They need a win.
I mean, they're gonna have some big shoes to fill for Superman. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, Hollywood never fails. They always go down the same route. Let's look at who's the young hot now, and they're gonna reach out to him. Hey, we're gonna pay you this much money to be the next Batman, even though he can care less as a character. Like, perfect example.
Well, the next Batman's gonna be old, right?
Yeah.
No, supposedly I thought it was supposed to be kind of
No,
mid-age.
he's well, yeah, he's probably like 35, 40, but that's still pretty old for a refreshed Batman. But I guess Batfleck's probably around that age, though.
Yeah, Superman is supposed to be younger, on the younger side,
yeah.
like 20s. But yeah, I totally agree with you that they're going to have to knock it out of the park with Superman, because that's going to be, like James Gunn said, the very start of the James Gunn verse with Superman DCU. I mean, it's going to have to be a fantastic film. Now, it seems like we all know that Flash is going to be a great knock it out of the park home run comic book film, but it's that Superman film. That's going to be the foundation of everything going forward. And
but with all of that anticipation and everything lying on it, that means it's probably going to do well at the box office, right? I mean, everyone's going to want to go see what this movie is.
Yeah, going back in time and looking at Brendan Routh's Superman, there wasn't a lot of hype behind it for some reason. I remember that time, and I was like first in line in my town to go see that movie, and that theater was empty. And I didn't see much hype about it at all. And then with Man of Steel, there was not a lot of hype behind that either for some reason. And it was very kind of puzzling to me. But now when you have the Flash movie, if that does great, it has goodwill, even though it's really not connected, the public's not going to know any better. So it's an interesting scenario, to say the least, for DC going forward.
But you're saying $1 billion for sure on this one.
Oh yeah, that's easy. I mean, all the old heads, all the people that are like grandparents now that saw Batman '89 in the theater when they were on dates. I mean, they're gonna want to go back and see Keaton to see what they did and kind of relive that. This is essentially Spider-Man No Way Home, but they've told us the Spider-Men are in it,
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, that'd be interesting if they had Christopher Reeves, and then that footage gets leaked, and then people say, "Oh my God, I want to see that." I mean, they bring a guy back from the dead essentially, and he's the most beloved Superman, I think. Still,
they bring back Christopher Reeves. It beats Avatar.
Dude, now that y'all talk about that, I mean, did any of you guys see? I mean, did you guys see Mandalorian? Did you actually picture they were going to bring back a young Luke?
No. I joked about it, and everyone told me I was crazy. It was like more tongue-in-cheek type, like, oh, the person that Grogu contacted was Luke because he's the only Jedi out there. Makes sense. And everyone's like, no, it's not going to be Luke. And I'm like, yeah, because Star Wars leaks are really prevalent because we kind of know what's going to happen before it happens, usually. And yeah, this is very akin to bringing back Mark Hamill, too. It's been decades, man. Decades since we saw Keaton in that bat suit. And now that we know he's coming back for sure, and then the goodwill this film has,
but bringing back Reeves is like beyond that. I guess bringing back Reeves, the closest thing that we've seen to. I mean, if he's playing a significant role, and especially if he's speaking, I mean, it's kind of a sensitive thing. You know what I mean?
Well, they did it with Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One.
For sure.
I know it wasn't the main character, but I mean, they have done it before where they contacted the estate and asked
that was actually
permission.
the first time I thought was like, oh, This is kind of weird because an artist I think should be able to sign off on their work. It'd be like everyone or like let's say the lead singer of Leonard Skinner. They're just like, we're going to AI your voice and release a new album, even though all of you guys died in a plane crash. You don't have the way to like sign off on your own work, and so it's to me it's like it's kind of an ethical issue. Um, of just using this because all you're doing is using it to make money. That's literally the only thing that it would be for, and it
It's
just
also an
seems
ethical issue to have Ezra Miller still be in this movie.
I'm on board with you. I'm not an Ezra Miller fan at all. But they've done the perfect thing. They've turned this. This is not a Flash movie. Nobody is talking about Flash.
Yeah, nobody cares about that aspect of it.
This is now a Batman movie. They've found a way to release a Batman movie, and I think that's what it's going to be. I think a good portion of it, I hope, is probably going to be a Batman movie. So kudos to James Gunn. I mean, that's a smart move right there.
Not
If
to
they
scrap the
edited it
film.
that way,
They
yeah, don't
spent
scrap the
$300
film.
million on.
What do you mean scrap this film? No, we'll make it a Batman movie.
Great marketing, yeah.
Just to kind of go back to where this all started, it's bonkers to remind ourselves that this movie was first announced in the fall of 2014.
A long time ago.
2014. It is now 2023, and we're just now getting this film. Like, that's insane. Dwayne Johnson, I think, even worked on his movie even longer, right? So it's just
Black Adam was
it's just
like 12, 13
crazy.
years, something like that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Rick Famuyiwa was supposed to be the original director.
That's right. I remember that. That's crazy.
So what's the budget on it? Because you have a team working on this movie for that entire time. So what is the total budget of this film that it's spent so far? Because that's 7 years of paying people to edit it. How many times do you think this movie's been edited?
Oh man.
Yeah, Google says 200 million. The film is directed by Andy Muschietti from a screenplay by Christina Hodson and stars Ezra Miller as Barry Allen, The Flash, alongside Sasha Calle in her film debut, Michael Shannon, Ron Livingston, Maribel Verdú, Kiersey Clemens, Antje Trau. Is that Fiora? And Michael Keaton. Who's Antje Trau? I've heard that name before.
Might be her.
Because I know she is like Israeli or something. Yes, it is. It is Fiora.
Yes,
how weird would it be as an actor to like do this big film and this big blockbuster hit, and you're young at the time, and you're like, "Well, this is going to launch me into the stratosphere," and then you have to literally wait 7 years, and the whole time that you're waiting these 7 years, nothing that you did is in your hands or your control anymore. People have just been editing down what you did 7 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's if I was the actors, I'd kind of be like, I don't even like this movie anymore. Like, I feel like I'm so beyond it. That's got to be a weird feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's what happened with the Avatar film. It was shot years and years ago, and then they just released it now. I think it was ready for release a couple of years ago, actually. I think before, but the pandemic happened, and I think Cameron wanted to tinker with it a little bit more. But I don't think we have to wait long for the next Avatar film, which is going to be in 2024. So
yeah. Well, the Flash movie, the long-awaited announced movie, will be out June 16th of this year. I skipped a bunch of comments, but I'm just kind of read a few of them. Let's see here. Lexi Nerd says the gray hair was Vicky Vale. She never left the Batcave after Alfred let her in. Let's see. There's an armor in the comics that Batman uses called the Nightmare suit. That one suit on the right looks a lot like it. It says, no, sorry, it's called Hellbat, not Nightmare. Ooh, that could be what it is. He also says those metal pieces on Batfleck look like braces. And General Kenobi says, It's Barry's collection of all the Batmans that he's gotten killed in the multiverse. He just collects them and puts them in this one closet. That's dark, but it's funny. Legacy Nerd says, "Do any of the suits have nipples?" I did notice, and I hope they do not. And then he also says, in Batman's first appearance, he had guns. Absolutely, he did. And it wasn't until I guess Thomas when he really just became a badass mofo when it came to firearms. We were going to talk about Super Bowl trailers, but we'll just talk about the one, and we'll talk about more maybe next week because we got one final discussion. But we want to hear from you guys. What's your favorite part of the Flash trailer? Let us know in the comments. What are your theories? What are your expectations? Drop them in the comments below, and we'll talk about the other trailers next week when we have some more time. But we're going to continue our Last of Us discussion, episode 105, Endure and Survive. This was an awesome episode. You know how we do. We start off with a summary, and it goes a little something like this. We open on Kansas City when the rebels overthrow Fedra. Kathleen is in search for Henry, who's on the run with Sam. Fast forward 10 days, and the two of them run into Joel and Ellie and convince them to escape together. Henry tells us the reason Kathleen hunts him. Henry murdered her brother, and he did this in order to steal medication that would help heal Sam's leukemia. Kathleen catches up with Joel and company and nearly kills Henry, but a crashed vehicle opens up a sinkhole filled with infected, including a bloater which overwhelms Kathleen's forces and allows Joel and company to escape unscathed. Or so we think. Sam is infected, and Henry is forced to put him down. Overcome with guilt, Henry takes his own life. Ellie's attempt to save Sam doesn't work. What a roller coaster of events. And I was very interested on seeing the first horde type in this series. We did get one earlier on, but we didn't get a whole lot of it. It was like kind of a smaller group, but this was definitely like your Left for Dead 2 type stuff, like out of the sinkhole, going nuts. And these were like a higher level of infected. Like they were harder to take down. There was like multiple clickers. And then this bloater was just awesome. And poor Tommy, like he had no shot whatsoever. And I have not played this part of the game, so I did not expect to see Kathleen and her team get dismantled so quickly. So farewell, Kathleen. I thought you were going to be around a little bit longer, but I guess nobody gets that opportunity in The Last of Us. Maddie B, your thoughts on episode 5?
I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed um, Henry and Sam and their dynamic there. There was a couple of scenes in the beginning of this episode where there was no conversation going on whatsoever, obviously because Sam was deaf and Henry was communicating with him via sign language. But we did not miss a single bit of the emotion or conversation that was taking place between those characters. It still hit home, and it almost hit home more because it was so silent and how ominous and this event is that's taking place around them. So I really really love that. I'm glad Kathleen died. She got on my freaking nerves. I hated her voice. I hated the way she acted. I was actually hoping that that Joel was just going to cap her. I thought that would have been a much more cool way for her to go out when he had her kind of in the crosshairs there. But I feel really really bad for Ellie because I mean, it's a poor little girl, and she's trying so hard to have any sense of normalcy. She's still just a kid, and she's hanging out with Sam, and she feels that again, and she's reconnecting with herself as a kid, and she actually shows a little bit of happiness in this dark time. And that scene at the end when she's talking to him, and he says, "Oh, are you ever scared?" And then she's like, "All the time." And he shows his leg where he got bit, and she's like, "My blood is medicine." She thought she could save him with her blood, and obviously that didn't work out. And then Henry had to shoot him, which was another crazy moment. But I thought this episode again. It just proves that whoever's working on The Last of Us is genius level TV writing. This is right in my wheelhouse. Another 10 out of 10 episode for me. I love the whole thing.
Retro Ray, what about you, sir? Your thoughts on episode 5?
I mean, dude, it had me at the beginning. Now, I didn't expect that one girl to get killed that fast. You know what I mean? I expected her to be kind of like the villain chasing them.
Yeah, season 1 villain.
Yeah, I didn't see her, what happening to her and then the kid and everything. I was just like, man, it's kind of like Walking Dead. You already built that that kind of like for that character, those characters, like the little kid and the brother. And then for that to happen so fast, I was like, damn, man, they killing off quick.
Yeah,
But
we're programmed, right? We're programmed to like expect people to stick around a little bit
yeah,
and like flesh out these villains. No, like every environment is the villain. Every day they're alive is the villain. Like it's survival is the villain.
yeah, exactly, man. And I was like, overall, like I said, never played the game. You know, the thing that got me was, okay, I can understand sewer. You have sewers and stuff like this, but these houses were underground. So are these monsters like moles and they dig through the ground and they're able to create sinkholes? So it kind of made me think, like, how did they cause that to happen?
So basically, what the government did was they decided that they weren't going to be able to do anything, so they just like basically carpet bombed the place, and they pushed all of the infected underground.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so they like hoarded them in, they forced them in, they bombed them in, and so they forced all of the infected underground. And so it was just a matter of time before that infrastructure gave out. In the last episode, we actually see one of the mercenary guys, I forget his name, but takes Kathleen and opens up a door, and you can see kind of the floor moving up and down.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the sinkholes of the infected trying to get out.
Oh, okay.
Nuts. I also wondered if because they were like, what's gonna happen? Somebody said the line, "What's gonna happen to them?" And I think they're referring to the QZ back in Kansas City. And I'm like, that's where that horde is headed. Like they're done. Like
Ah,
kiss them goodbye. Like you're not stopping that. Most of your strongest forces were out here looking for Sam and Henry. You put all your best kind of foot soldiers out on this mission, and they've been wiped out. It was nuts. David, your thoughts, sir? Episode 5. What a ride!
Yeah, it was brilliant. 10 out of 10. I loved it. I just finished it right before I came on the podcast. And I did see the little trailer for the next episode, and I did see the breakdown of the episode, and it was very interesting. That there was a lot of subconscious things happening in this episode, with the mirroring between Ellie and Joel, and then Henry and what was the other act?
Sam.
Henry and Sam. Yeah, and just to have that ending where it was shocking, and like you said, it's us as viewers have that expectant thing that they introduce characters, they have a big part, we think we're gonna track them throughout the season, but nope. The Last of Us does it brilliantly. I think you could really mess up a show by killing off characters this quickly, but this show has the luxury of going back and forth through time, and we can very well see them again in the future in some type of new storyline, kind of like we did with Anna Tor. We saw her as her younger self, and of course we've
Right?
seen Pedro
Yeah.
as his younger self. But yeah, it's heartbreaking. Every episode seems like it's heartbreaking. The relationship that Ellie built with Sam was, the little boy was Sam, right?
Sam, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they became fast friends. She was all for it. She writes on that classic little tablet where you pull up and it erases the
It's
wording.
like the carbon paper or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we've all seen those as kids. and to use that tool to communicate, because of course he was deaf, like Maddie B said, and the use of ASL was pretty cool to see there as well. And that actor that played Sam, he was actually deaf, and all the other actors that wanted to communicate with him had to learn ASL, and a lot of them did. A lot of the crew did. I thought that was pretty cool, and he's a pretty good actor. I expect to see him in
Fantastic.
more stuff. But yeah, overall, man, this show is so good that it speaks to our humanity more so than, oh, it's a zombie show. Oh, if I don't like zombies, I'm not gonna like it. I think this is one of those shows that hits all those quadrants, those 4 quadrants: the young, 20-year-old, middle age, older, grandparents. I think it's a show really for everyone. And to see that bloater, man, I think I read that bloater was actually practical effects, and they used a little bit
Damn.
of CGI, but yeah, they had a big dude in a suit walking around, and yeah, man, that thing was vicious. I guess it was bulletproof with all the hard
Yeah.
plates.
They're pretty tough for what it seems like. Even the clickers in the game, their heads are supposed to be like so dense. That fungus is supposed to be so dense that it acts like armor. Not necessarily
Yeah.
bulletproof, but taking them with headshots is like one of the harder things to do. It's better to just take one of their legs out and like take off. Um,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic show, and like when Ray was talking, I was said, we're programmed to expect these people to stick around. We're programmed to like, ooh, this is going to be our big bad, Kathleen, and she's going to torment us the entire season, and then at the end of the season, she's going to hit one of them with a bat, and we're going to get all sad. No, but that doesn't happen, and
Dude,
it's taken me like all the way through this episode to finally like catch on. Like there's no pattern here, you know what I mean? And it was not too long ago another show kind of did a very something similar, She-Hulk. I was waiting for a villain of the season. I was waiting for a plot,
yeah.
and it's crazy to challenge your way of thinking to letting go of those expectations of these systemic components of just TV storytelling. This show may not ever have. I didn't want to play the game and figure this out. I wanted to learn this on my own. So I don't know if there's going to be a big bad this whole season. It just might be like flavor of the week type stuff. What's trying to kill us today? And that's okay with me. Like this is entertaining stuff. And Ellie, the actress that plays her, she's fantastic.
Bella
And
Ramsey. Yeah.
Bella Ramsey, I think she's doing an incredible job. And I already knew Pedro would, but she's doing an incredible job. And for her to be as level-headed with everything she's gone through so far, it would be tough. It would take down a normal adult to go through all this trauma in such a short amount of time. But that character is so unique and so strong and has so much will, and it's hard not to root for her. And I don't know what happens going after this. One last thought. When you mentioned the carbon paper thing, I'm watching the show with my son, and you see Ellie pick up the paper and erase the letters, and my son, who's about to be 16, goes, "How does that work?"
That was a classic toy. And
Yeah, it
in
was a
fact,
classic toy.
They
it
have
was a
no
really
idea. It's
it was
magic
a
to them.
really interesting way. And again, I don't know if that was a part of the game, so I don't want to say it was an interesting way for the writers to do that. But if that's not part of the game and the writers brought that in, it's such a nostalgic nod. It's a low tech piece. There's no technology involved with it. A notebook is worse because you run out of paper on a notebook. Like you can constantly use this, and I thought that was awesome. Another good moment with the carbon paper and Ellie and Sam, to me, that almost brought tears to my eyes. Again, another episode of The Last of Us. There's a moment when they're in that sort of bunker that looks like a classroom.
Yeah.
They're underground in the classroom, and obviously we haven't heard one sound out of Sam at all because oftentimes deaf people don't like to vocalize because they don't know what the sound of their own voice feels like. So it
Right.
becomes very normal to just stay quiet. But she made him laugh with her joke book, and he actually vocalized the laugh, and then Henry kind of shot back around like, I haven't heard that in a while. And so it was just like, again, like letting you know how heartwarming, this little friendship that they were building is. And again, our poor girl Ellie, you mentioned how strong she is, and at some point you wonder how much can she take.
Yeah.
She's just starting to build another relationship, and then she's scared to death that he's going to turn into a monster, and then he gets shot right in front of her, and then Henry commits suicide right in front of her. So it's like, dude, this girl, and Bella Ramsey should be up for every award that you can get. As far as TV goes, I think it's best actress, anything. I think she is absolutely dominating this role.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's what makes it even more impactful is that she fought to save these two, right?
Yeah,
Joel was the one that's like, maybe we shouldn't trust them. No. She was like, we can trust these guys. We can take care of them. They can come with us. She said it before they talked. Henry and Joel, before they talked, she was kind of trying to plant that seed into Joel, like, hey, they can come with us. It'll be fine. There's plenty of room. We'll figure it out. And then, in a weird sort of way, it's almost like she can let go of the the sadness because she did everything she could. She's like, I used my blood. I tried to save him. It didn't even work. So I guess that's that. It's not like there was anything left to do. She wasn't the reason why he got bit. She tried to use her blood to save him and it wouldn't work. So it's sort of a weird way, and I don't know if it's exactly what they're trying to show us, but it's like she can get over this because it's really out of her hands. It's out of her control. You know what
Do
I
you think
mean?
we're gonna get like her maybe feeling a little bit less confident? So this whole time she's thought for sure that her blood is basically medicine. She can't be infected. They're basically going to try to make a vaccine out of her. That's what the whole goal is, right?
Right.
And so now that didn't work for her, she's probably not going to tell Joel. But is that going to affect her? Like, what does she think about herself now? Because what she's known about herself, she kind of disproved to herself a little bit. And, does she still believe in herself? And so it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of thing plays out. Have you guys seen do you guys follow IGN.com or IGN on Instagram?
Yeah.
Have you seen every week after the episodes when they post like the side by side video of the scene from the show and the scene from the movie?
Yeah.
It's amazing how well they're sticking to it. And
Oh yeah.
I haven't seen this one yet, but I'm excited to see the one from this episode. I feel like it may have to do with that little girl. What about that little girl that crawled into the back seat with her in that SUV? That was scary, like all body contortion and
Yeah. Doing
It's
gymnastics,
actually
basically.
it's that was actually really entertaining because, when she crawled in, I was like, cool, she's good. Don't move, don't make a sound. And then you see that thing like slither in the window, like, get the hell out of there.
Mhm.
So good. Just great action, great drama. Final thoughts on episode 5, Retro Ray. We'll start with you, sir. I don't remember. You said you haven't played the game yet?
No, I never played the game.
So what do you think it kind of happens next? Is it just more of the same thing, more trouble along the way, or do they finally make it to their destination? What happens next? I haven't seen the
Well,
trailer for next week either, so don't
neither
ask
did
me.
I didn't. So does the trailer come like after the credits? Because I don't. I just turn
Yeah.
it off as soon as it. Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to wait till the end credits to watch the trailer. But from what I'm taking from what I've seen so far is I take it he's wanting to find his brother at the same time get her to where she needs to go. So I'm pretty sure we're gonna probably see more of the people he was talking about that steal from people and kill people that are not part of
More
the
Raiders.
community. Yeah, more raiders, I think. But the thing is, it's like since now they killed off that one character, who's the next obstacle going to be that they have to come across? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty stoked. I mean, like I said, I'm at the point where when Walking Dead first started, where I couldn't wait to see next week's episode, that's where I'm at right now.
You know what's real interesting, and I'll get to Dave and Matt here in a second. What was really interesting is I was having conversations with these cast members from The Walking Dead, and one of the things that came up was like, "Hey, are you guys at all interested in this TV show?" I'm not gonna say who it was, so you can just take a guess for yourself. But they were like, "You know what? I'm burned out on zombie apocalypse." Like, and I'm like, I could see that because like you guys kind of did everything, like anything you can
They lived it.
imagine, and anything you can imagine happening, like any just wild idea, like they did it, like they did everything. It's like The Simpsons; they did everything you could possibly think of, and they did it in the zombie apocalypse. So it's going to be interesting to see, what else they have in store for this series because like The Walking Dead accomplished so much. Uh, like Scenario says, leave it to Ted to compare The Last of Us to She-Hulk. I saw Matt rolling his eyes while I was talking too, so yeah, I get that. David, any final thoughts on either this episode or anything else you want to talk about going forward?
Yeah, HBO Max, man. The House of the Dragon, then The Last of Us, two just epic shows back to back. I don't know how HBO does this really. I've complained many times that I'm a big Star Wars guy. These Disney Plus Star Wars shows needs to have these types of after each episode have like a little trailer so we kind of get like a tease and then like a breakdown of the episode. That'd be wonderful. They used to do that for Rebels on Disney XD, but they just stopped doing that. We just all kind of go in cold. But I love that stuff. I love to know what the creators were thinking when they created said episode you just watched. And I mean, it's a great show. Pedro Pascal's killing it. The Mandalorian season 3 happens in 15 days, essentially March 1st. So it's going to be these first 2 quarters of this year is going to be all Pedro Pascal. So
Are they going to run concurrent, or is The Last of Us going to end before Mandalorian starts?
we got how many more episodes for the last? Is it like a 9 episodes or something?
8 or 9, yeah. There might be
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks left.
Yeah, well, Mando episodes will drop Wednesdays at 2 a.m. Central on Disney Plus. So, yeah, I guess they're gonna be kind of concurrent. But Pedro Pascal was actually shooting The Last of Us while they were shooting The Mandalorian season 3. So we're not going to see much of his face, but we're going to get a lot of his dialogue. That I think he might have recorded on set for The Last of Us where he was acting. But yeah, it's a terrific show. I'm totally engaged, just like Retro Ray here. I never played the game, but I always heard that The Last of Us would be probably the first great video game film or film series. And we got the TV show, of course, and it's terrific, man. Casting was spot on. They're doing the OG fans justice with the side by sides from IGN, like Matty B referenced, and it's a great show, man. Great writing, great time travel, great use of the possibility. You see stories now every day about the cordyceps fungus, maybe
Every day.
evolving.
Everywhere you go, now it's everywhere, and now everybody's panicking now. Like it wasn't a thing before this. Stop it.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm watching it as soon as I can. It was interesting that they dropped it on Friday because of the Super Bowl, but the Super Bowl ends pretty early. It doesn't end late at night, so I think they still could have dropped it and still got the numbers. But did we get like a viewership number after this last episode?
I didn't notice. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, because each week it goes up in viewership.
Absolutely.
So it'd be interesting to see if it still kept on tracking upwards.
I would have watched it in place of the Super Bowl. I could have watched that one later. Just saying. That's just me. But my team wasn't there. Also,
but there's a Dallas
Dak was
Cowboy that
there.
came home with the trophy, and no Eagle did.
And he got booed when he got that trophy too. Like that's probably why you
Karma,
lost,
baby.
Philly. That's why you lost. He was just trying to do some good deeds, and you booed him.
And
Not looking
Philly
good.
has lost 3 championships in the last 99 days. MLS, MLB, and NFL.
Terrible,
That's funny.
terrible. Matty
Hey,
B, your
Dave.
last thoughts on episode 5, sir.
Yeah. So just real quick on the last note we were on. So according to Variety, this episode is 7.5 million viewers, which is a 17% increase on the 6.4 million in the previous episode. So again, they are on an upward climb, different than the House of Dragon. House of Dragon started really high, kind of plateaued a little bit, and viewership, kind of wavered. This is on a steady trajectory. Still, though, hasn't hit because the House of Dragons first episode was 10.5 million. And so while this is still on a steady climb, it still hasn't reached the 10.5 number yet. So just an update from Numbers World. But this next episode, and I think in this last episode we got, and even the ones before that a little bit, it's kind of been about Ellie and Ellie growing up and doing those things, and her kind of character development. Based on the trailer that I saw after this episode, this next one looks like it's going to be more of an emotional episode for Joel. We're going to have to see him face some disappointment, face some change in some character. And that is something that's very, very interesting to me. So I think we're going to see Joel kind of go through it emotionally. And probably he's going to have to fight too. He's going to have to fight in every episode. It's just what he does. But we're going to see Joel have to face some tough emotions here in this next episode. So I'm stoked on it, and hopefully it keeps gaining in viewership. Hopefully, we can ease into Mandalorian, but it's going to be kind of easy because I mean Pedro, it can't even be hard for him. He's literally playing the Mandalorian right now in The Last of Us. I mean, it's the same character. And Pedro Pascal's a really good actor. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he can only do one thing, but he is very much playing a Mandalorian type character in this show. Ellie being Grogu, and so I'm excited for Q1 Pedro. If you want to make it all about Pedro Pascal, fine. That's cool with me. Just no fan flicks on TikTok. That's an SNL joke for you guys. Yeah.
There you
That's
go. There
funny.
you go. Let's see here. We want to hear from you guys. What are your thoughts on episode 5 of The Last of Us? If you know what's happening, don't spoil it. But if you do not know what's going to happen next, what do you see is coming up next for these two characters? Are you on the same boat as us? It takes a bit to get used to this type of storytelling where there's not one sort of individual to focus on and who's your antagonist, but your antagonist is just surviving is really what it comes down to, and we want to hear from you guys. So drop your thoughts in the comments below. All right, it's time for us to get out of here. However, it wouldn't be right for me to not at least try and surprise these guys with one new segment of 2023. So, gentlemen, I would like to present to you a new segment I came up with regarding pretty much every single movie that we're going to review this year and what we're going to be talking about. I call it Fantasy Box Office by the Countdown City Geeks. What is Fantasy Box, Ted? Well, it's a lot like fantasy football, except there's no money involved. There's no players to watch. But what we will do is actually estimate what the worldwide box office opening weekends will be for your top movies of 2023. We're going to do this all year long. I'm going to come up with a point system to where, based on how close you get within a range of the actual amount, and if you're within 10%, you get a certain amount of points. If you're within 20%, you get a little
So
less
you
amount of points.
so you can't bust. So we got to make sure it's not Price is Right rules. Like you can't just come in a dollar under me.
I am doing worldwide. I am. You're right. I don't want that to happen. I am going to do worldwide box office weekends. So I feel like it's hard enough already trying to guess with how much these movies are fluctuating these days post pandemic. But our first movie that we're going to be playing for is going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which opens worldwide this weekend, and our review should be dropping on Wednesday. Wednesday, yes, very late on. So I know I'm dropping this on you guys kind of quickly, kind of early, but we're gonna go ahead and go around, and I'm also gonna ask the rest of the team what their numbers are because I want everybody to be involved, and we're gonna have an official winner this same time come the end of December, whenever that big movie drops. So, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Look at Matty already doing his research. I'm gonna take a complete shot in the dark. I'm first here. Worldwide box office for the third Ant-Man film, the beginning Phase 5. I think there's a lot of anticipation for this one. I'm gonna go ahead and say 200 and I'll say 25 million worldwide box office. Matty B, how about there?
Well, I mean, I did just try to look it up, but
I know you did.
no, but well, I mean, why wouldn't I? But I don't like this number. I think this
What are you
is far
talking
too
about?
low. I think this
Oh,
is far too low. Um, I think it's going to do great. I think people have been kind of wanting to see, Kang. I think Kang is going to be the big draw here. I'm going to say 289.
ooh, very nice. Retro Ray, let's go with you next, sir. What do you think is going to be the worldwide, not domestic, but worldwide box office opening weekend?
For that one, I'm gonna say probably about 38.
38
38.
what million?
38. Well, yeah, worldwide. If you're comparing worldwide, we can.
But the whole weekend, like Thursday through Sunday.
Oh, for Thursday, well, then probably 180.
All right, very nice, very nice. Dave from the Star Wars Stuff podcast. I know I kind of threw you into one of our bits, so I apologize. But I know your game. Let's go.
How much did you say, Ted?
I said 225, and that's just a random shot in the dark here.
All right, 225 and $1.
Very nice, very nice. And Legacy Nerd, who actually I was going to include this game as well. He says he's going 350.
350.
So 350 million
Well,
worldwide.
so I don't
I
know
would
if
not
this
be
is
surprised if it got that.
I don't know if this is just domestic, but I'm seeing a lot of 120. That's a little low. So I'm glad that we were all kind of, at least around about kind of what it might be. But I don't know. Kang's a big draw. I think that after Thursday, Friday, I think if it gets some hype, it can kind of push into Sunday. We're past the Super Bowl. There's not any sports on. Basketball games. You can miss a basketball game. They have 1,000 of them. So it's not the same as football. It's just not. So you can miss a basketball game. So without the competition with sports, I think it can do a good run.
And it's a 3-day weekend for a lot of people because President's Day.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you are correct. It's a good time. It's a good time. People have been waiting for Phase 5. I think there's a lot of intrigue, right? We're now getting into more connective tissue with the MCU. Everything's in Phase 4 was kind of on its own. Everybody did their own thing. We had some stories to flesh out, and it was great. Now it's time to start building towards an Avengers type movie. So, I'm game, and I know you guys are too. If you want to play along each and every week, or really probably once or twice a month, we're going to talk about another big movie release, and we'll play the same game again. On point scale, you'll get more points based on how close you are to the actual total, which we will pull from Box Office Mojo only once the weekend is up, and it won't be predicted box office weekends. It'll be actual box office weekends, which close like the Monday or Tuesday after. So, if you want to play along, drop your number in comments, and I'll try and track as many of you as possible who want to play. That'll do it for this episode of the Countdown City Geekcast. We want you guys guys to make sure you follow us. All events that are upcoming in our location in South Texas. There are so many, you have no idea, but we can't wait. And follow us for more information. Also, don't forget, if you want to see the interviews with the cast of The Walking Dead, everyone from the great Ross Marquand to Seth Gilliam, go over to our YouTube channel at Countdown City Geeks, or you can scroll through our Facebook page and find those thumbnails. Also, don't forget, we launched a new website, countdowncitygeeks.com. There you can find links to our merch. You can listen to our podcast if you want to, and you can also see what our entire been writing about. Everything from wrestling to trailers to toy collectibles that are being released pretty soon, and everything in between. So for more information, head on over to countdowncitygeeks.com. For the Geekcast, my name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me this week, my partner in crime, the one and only Matty B.
Crushing cans, crushing episodes. Look at that. We did another show, boys. And I'm stoked. I'm excited about this fantasy thing, Ted. I'm glad you brought that up. You always like to have a trick up your sleeve. But it was nice to be on with you
Absolutely.
guys, especially David. Catch me and David soon. Me and David are gonna do a little special. So if you want to see me and David kind of chatting it out about our Star Wars fandom, tune into that. It should be probably dropping sometime this week or early next week.
Very nice. We also got Retro Ray, who wanted me to share this with you guys.
Yeah, that's from Shirt Punch. They put it up for a couple of days, and then they pull them off the site.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Also,
Cool.
too, guys, if you guys have not been following on Thursday or Wednesday when Picard airs, right? Wednesday or Thursday?
It'll be on Thursday.
So Thursday we have the interview dropping that day with Todd Stashwick, the new captain in season 3 of Captain Picard. So check it out. Cool interview that me and Ted did.
Great guy. He's probably one of the biggest geeks you'll ever hear from. And this is him on the red carpet of the premiere of Picard season 3. Not only the premiere of season 3, but the premiere of the final season of Picard. So be on the lookout for our interview with him and everything that he does. It's not just Star Trek related. He's a big D&D fan. He's a big geek. Plenty of things to talk about. But our interview with Todd Stashwick will be out early Thursday morning. There you go. And last but not least, you can find his channel on YouTube from the Star Wars Stuff podcast, the one and only David Lozano.
Yeah, you can find my podcast pretty much everywhere, every popular site, podcast, listening app, Apple, Spotify, Star Wars Stuff Podcast, Instagram, Star Wars Stuff Podcast, Twitter at Stuff Pod, and of course we have a Patreon. We drop episodes usually every late night Sunday, early morning Monday, and we're currently doing Wednesday episodes where we review the Bad Batch episode that dropped that morning with Colin, Josh, and usually Hunter, Christian, Star, and sometimes more guests. But yeah, they're really on top of it. I love listening to that because they go really in depth on the characters, and they're the experts of Star Wars Stuff podcast for animation. I'm not on the show, but they do a really great job. So definitely check that out. And we have future Our Stories podcast, what Matty B was talking about. I'm going to interview him, interview Ted, might interview Retro Ray there in the future as well. So look out for those. Patreon, Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Appreciate you being here, brother, especially on short
Yeah,
notice.
thanks.
But
Thanks
you
for
already
having me
had
on.
the hat ready to go. You were ready to jump on. I love it. I love it. More DC talk in the future for sure. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on Thursday for the next episode of the Ghost Heads Radio, and also check out this week's episode of the WrestleCast. It's going to be amazing because Mission Pro Wrestling happened on Saturday, and Big Mike has plenty of stuff, and Tommy as well, to talk about. So we'll see you very soon. Have a great night, folks. Take it easy.
Later, guys.